Hello, this is Assetto, and this is a demonstration, or hopefully it will be a demonstration of how I make skin packs. So this is the output that's been generated. I'm actually going to delete all these. And we're going to start over. I'm not going to explain everything up front. I'm just going to let it run, and then I'll talk about it as it's happening, and hopefully this will all make sense. So this is an AutoIt script. I'm going to hit start, and then this is going to basically run a Windows level macro. It's going to cycle through a list of predefined colors, numbers, names, things like that. And we can see the folders start filling in over here on the far right. You'll see those folders start to drop in, and I've archived all of the default MX5 cars, skins, liveries, so we won't be looking at those. And then hopefully when this thing is done, there will be no errors, and it will finish without us having to stop and restart. And then I'll go in and I'll show you what they look like in Assetto Corsa, and then how I go about making the previews. Because we're going to start by dumping in all of these various files. So what I'm doing is obviously the main livery skin, the livery.png, which is the little icon you see in the drop-down list that we'll get to at the end. The helmet, the suit, and the gloves. And then you can see my kind of just to the right of center, this is my AutoIt script, and I've got these 5 main DDS files, or images that are being generated, and then I'm also writing the JSON file that has some information in it about the number of the car and stuff like that. So I've also written some Python files, some GIMP Python files that are being called with keystroke commands. I can't show those to you right now because while the AutoIt script is running, anything I do in Windows would disrupt it. So you basically have to like set it up, let it go. I always refer to this as kind of like a Rube Goldberg machine, where you get all your parts in place, and then you hit go, and then hopefully it, does all of its work correctly without some big tragedy happening. Down here, sort of in the bottom left, you can see my temp folder, and this is where it's writing out the files temporarily, and then they're being copied from the temp folder into their subfolder in the skins directory for the Mazda MX5 Cup car in Assetto Corsa. Before you can start this thing, there's some conditions that have to be met. All of these windows, the GIMP windows, would need to be open. You have to make sure that all the layers are named a certain way. And of course, all the files that I'll be distributing will all be set up and ready to go for the most part. But every single one of these GIMP images has to be initially exported to this temp folder, because the shortcut that I'm calling into GIMP is to just re-export out to where it already saved it to. So it's saving to the temp location and then saving over to the folder in AC. I have kind of gotten to a methodology where I use basically 3 colors per car, and then I try to manage those 3 colors in various ways. And a lot of that is done with masks in GIMP. So I set my layers, and you'll see in here, hopefully you can read the text. I don't know if the compression is going to let that through, or how much that's going to be obscured. But I have base color, secondary color, and third color. And then usually there's a mask on each one of those layers to turn things on and off. And those layers kind of stack normally with the base on the bottom, and then the secondary right above that, and then the third color right above that. Sometimes they're not in that order in the various GIMP files, just based on how I set the files up. But those three colors will flow into those layers the same, regardless of the order they're in. It'll just, the Python scripts will find that layer based on its name, fill the color in, yada yada. And then of course flatten the image, dump it out the file, and then copy them over. And you'll see it sort of like, it's doing and undoing. Some of that is based on these layers, these images that have numbers in them. You can set up the name of the number layer with a amount you want it to rotate, because the number layers need to be sort of initially oriented vertically, like you would read on a piece of paper, and then it'll rotate it, and then when you rotate it, it takes out the number or the text part of that layer and sort of rasterizes it and just turns it into like a regular image layer. So then you have to undo that when you want to write the next number into it. So that's why we're doing things, and you'll see it's doing some things here. It's going to do the numbers, and then it's going to flatten it, and then it has to undo, so we get back to our text layers that we can edit. This is going to take about 20 minutes to run. So I'm sure you'll get tired of me talking, or maybe I'll just get tired of talking at some point. I'll run out of things to say, and then it'll be no talking for whatever, and then at the very end, once these things are all rendered out, we'll open up Assetto Corsa and look at it and look and see, what is it, what do we get? Maybe we'll hop into one of these folders and just see what all the files look like. The roll bars, this sort of bottom left over here, there's roll bars, and then the external cut plastic. I just copied those from one of the default skins, liveries that's in Assetto Corsa, and then it's just copying those files directly. It's not, I don't have templates for those files. They're all going to be dark gray, black basically, and yeah, and I'm okay with that. So some of these are using some noise. Some of them are not. The main skin for the vehicle, I have a couple noise layers to try to mitigate banding from the ambient occlusion. Like in here, you'll see there's like a noise darken and a noise addition. And then you can, there's some variables in the AutoIt script where you can kind of control the speed, but if you try to run it too fast, then you'll get errors, because what it's doing is it's automating all the button pushing that's happening that you would normally be doing yourself, but we're not doing it. We're letting the script do it for us. But the script is not smart in the sense that it doesn't know to wait for things to happen before it does the next thing. So you have to build in a certain level of tolerance for that based on how quickly you think something can get done. And then when you're, say, applying the colors as a fill, or you're updating the text layers with numbers, or you're just generating the file to hit the file system, you have to, you're just calling a key command, and there's no feedback to the script that the work got done. So you have to assume it's going to take a certain amount of time, and then maybe add some buffer, and then hopefully you don't the script doesn't get ahead of the work that's actually been done by the softwares that it's automating. In this instance, we're really just automating GIMP, mainly through these keystrokes, and then it's using the clipboard to put information in. So like the RGB values for the colors, those go to the clipboard, and then there's a script that runs inside of GIMP that grabs the data from the clipboard, sticks it into, say, like a flood fill on the layer. The numbers for the numbers for the vehicles, those also get put on the clipboard, and then you call a script, and the script reads the clipboard, and then puts that into the various number layers, and then does all the rotating and whatnot. And then I'm assuming I'll be distributing all of the Python files that you would need, and all of the GIMP templates that you would need, and AutoIT scripts. And then you could technically go in and try to run this yourself. I would say when I'm first starting out working on a new template for a new car, or just a new template for a car I've already been working on, I'll sort of be editing one of these GIMP templates at a time. So I'll have everything turned off. You can see, like in my script here, I've got if true then, and I'll just change most of those trues to false. And let's say I'm working on the gloves. All of these things above it will be if false then, which means it doesn't run, it doesn't do it. And then it gets to the gloves and it says if true, then do the gloves thing, and then it would just be creating the gloves every time I ran it. And then of course at the top you can see there's a bunch of stuff commented out in green, and it'll say if $base equals white, then if $base equals black. And then I have the base is just a text value, and it's either white black or black dark, and that just gets passed into a Python script that controls some various colors for things like the numbers and the decals and whatnot, just to make sure that the color is appropriate for what it's sitting on top of. You got to make sure you have black text on top of a light background, that type of thing. Or you can say, I only want to work on this one number, so I'm just going to do car number 1, and it'll just only dump out to that one folder in AC, and you can do good testing there. And then you can sort of okay, generate your livery with maybe whatever percentage of these other support files you want. Like maybe you're just doing the gloves, and you've already generated out the suit and the helmet and the preview icon and the skin, and you just want to work on the glove color. Then you would just sort of do that one over and over again as you're tweaking the GIMP template. And then once you feel good about it, then you can say, all right, I'm going to run this for all the skins. And then, of course, down here in the bottom left, you can see the livery PNG updating. The rest of these DDS files, for some reason, are not giving us previews. I just haven't figured out how to fix that. So far we're 17 skins in. It's going to generate 35 by the time it's done. And yeah, all of these GIMP templates started as a Photoshop PSD, and then I imported it, and then made modifications for how I like to work with skins. And even if I wasn't doing this sort of automation, if I was just going to kind of do a one-off, I would still be working mostly in this manner, where I set up my my base color, my second color, my third color, and then just sort of work on masks to color the various areas of the vehicle to create whatever effect or lines that I'm looking for. and it's done. So that's 35 skins liveries over here. Thankfully, we did not get any errors. Let's go ahead and take a peek. So we got a glove, suit, helmet, the two plastic cup and roll bar, livery, the JSON, and the skin file. So this is basically what I decided on, was kind of like the minimum number of files I needed to generate to have the vehicles and drivers look the way I wanted. There are additional files that you can create as well. I just haven't done the research to know if they're actually necessary, but we'll take a look and hopefully we'll be able to see that this is, it should be enough. Take a quick peek. That looks good. So now I'm going to go back to Assetto Corsa, and I'm going to clear the car preview cache, which will tell AC to rescan all the folders and look for skins. We will not have any preview files, and we'll see what that looks like in a minute. So you'll see this says no preview available because we just made all of those folders. And here you can see that we've got icons but no picture in the preview. So we're going to fix that. I'm going to check my video settings here. So I created a custom resolution of 1024 by 576, and this just makes it easy for me to generate the previews because that's the file size that AC wants when these things get generated. So I'm going to make sure I've got my first skin picked, and then I'm going to load that thing. So here's the showroom, and I'm going to place this in the corner, and I'm going to get this car oriented in such a way that I like. That's pretty good. And I'm going to go to my screens folder and make sure. Oh, see, we got some things in here. We got to take all these out. So I'm just going to put them into archive. We might see these files populate, or they may get processed so quickly that we just won't see them in there. So this is a separate script that I'm going to run where these files are all in numerical order now. In the previous script, you may have noticed they weren't being generated in numerical order, but in here they are. And you could have them in the same order, but you'll see this column over here. This is the base color, generally, which I send to the this Python script for that I don't have. Oh, here, set marking layer. So I put that in the clipboard. I call this script. It picks up the name of the marking layer, and then sets some various colors for layers and things that we want for, like, the decals, monochrome decals, and the numbers, monochrome numbers and stuff like that. I had mentioned that before. And you'll see over in this previous script, these things are all, like, these are all my white base cars, and these are sort of like the mixed base cars, and this is the black base cars. And here's one that's a little bit just different. And I just sort of Googled for liveries, like actual liveries, and found some manufacturers' color schemes that I thought were interesting and different. And that's kind of how I used those as sort of a source for, what kind of color combinations did I want to include in the pack. Okay, so we have, this is our script that's going to manage our automating of the previews. And we have our first skin selected, and it's just going to cycle through all of these and hopefully put these preview files where they need to go. And this is doing the same sort of, just automated button clicking where it's making assumptions about how long things take to happen. So it clicks the screenshot capture button and then waits a certain amount of time and then assumes the file is going to be there and then grabs the file and moves it over into hopefully the proper folder. And then when this is done running, we can go back to AC and ask it to, clear the cache again, rescan, and then we should get all of our previews. And then maybe I'll load up one of these in a race session. I'm assuming that XSplit is capturing this video from this showroom. It might not, based on how these capture programs operate. We'll have to wait and see. That would be unfortunate if it wasn't capturing this right now. And again, I can't touch anything because the script is relying on the mouse to get work done. So if I start moving the mouse around, then it can't do the work it needs to do. So I have to just sit and wait. But this is definitely faster than me doing this manually. Way faster. And then if you don't have the cars in this list in the same order that the cars are shown on the screen when you cycle through this way, then the previews won't go in the proper place. But Assetto Corsa is mostly just going to load all these folders alphanumerically. And the way that I've got the folder names set up, they should be the same. And that's that. So now we'll exit this. We'll go back to Assetto Corsa. We'll ask it to clear the car preview cache. And this should now pull in our previews that we just generated. And we'll do some spot checking to make sure those all ended up on the right vehicles. So this is my McLaren. Those colors appear to match. This is my Castrol. Those match. Here's my Gulf colors. Yes. Here's my light blue Jordan colors. Here's my Infinity colors. The Race Star colors. Light gray. Dark gray. Original orange. And this livery is based on an image that Danger Russ from DeviantArt created, and I think he did his in Photoshop, maybe with some Blender and whatnot. And I thought he just did a great job with this layout and the lines and the colors and the fades and whatnot. And so I asked him if I could create an interpretation of this in Assetto Corsa, and he was kind enough to say yes. And so that's kind of how this all started. And then race department's having their MX5 Cup, and I wanted to make some skins for them. Because I try to support the MX5 Cup wherever it happens to be, virtual, real life otherwise, because I think they're great cars. So we got our previews. I'm gonna pick one here. Let's go with the Gulf colors, and then I'm going to load this up in a practice session, and let's just use the drag strip because that'll load quickly and give me some direct sunlight. And hopefully this is also being captured by XSplit. Just going to load that thing up. ditch that leaderboard. And then you can see the vehicle here, hopefully. Turn everything off. Nice. And then I've got just, the different colors as part of the suit and gloves. And I tried to make the gloves a nice sort of muted tone, so they're darker and not, annoyingly bright in color. Yeah, cool. Well, it looks like that worked. So hopefully all this captures correctly. If you have questions about how to make this work on your system, let me know. I'm sure this will be in the forums somewhere, and you can just post that support thread, and then we can have dialogue about maybe you want to do your own custom colors, and how you can sort of leverage these scripts to make that happen. And then there's you can even go further and say I want to put drivers' names on the vehicles, and you can do that too, and that's supported. I just didn't do that for this pack because I didn't have any drivers' names. This is not for an online league or anything like that. But if you had a league and you wanted to use this pack and you wanted driver names on the vehicles, that's definitely something you could do. And I'm pretty sure that in the script here I've got this commented out, but this is where you would put in the driver names. So cool. Alright, well again, if you have questions, let me know. Hopefully this was helpful and informative and not too incredibly long. It just takes a while for all that stuff to run and then to be explained. So cool. Alright, thanks guys. This is Assetto. I will see you later. See you around online racing.